if they ghost you on the first consult, text them and say, hey, I'm so sorry. There must have been a problem with the link today. Let's go ahead and get rescheduled. And don't just be like, oh, I'm pissed off they didn't show up. I mean, of course you are, but you're not going to tell them that.
I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to annoy my friends or my family. If that's your mindset, like you're not doing it right. So
the person you're sitting next to getting an oil change, you have no idea who they are. You don't know how much money they have. Maybe they like to travel 3 times a year and have never used a travel agent. Have the conversation. Then as you kind of get into it, all of a sudden something clicks and you're like, wow, I'm actually a travel agent.
And this lady, my 6-year-old, brings up a conversation with her. They start talking. I start asking what she does. She starts asking what I do. I booked a $40,000 trip for her the next week.
Welcome to the Travel Agent Guide, the podcast pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to be a travel agent. We're talking real life, the challenges, the wins, the money, the mistakes, and the growth. Whether you've been in the travel industry for years or are new to it, we're in this together, and you're exactly where you need to be.
All right, this episode of the Travel Agent Guide, we're going to be talking about what makes a really high earning and high potential travel agent in 2026. It's changed over the years, and there's some more obvious and less obvious things. So by the end of this episode, what you're going to learn is exactly a checklist of what you need to have in place if you want to be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million agent in this industry. Haley, thanks for joining me today. I'm excited to jump in. Haley DeCarlo is a very high earning travel agent and does coaching on the side. So she's not only managing $1 million plus book of business, but has her hand in 15 other things as well. Haley, tell us a little bit about your business and what you focus on.
Yeah, of course. So my travel business or selling travel, I focus primarily on Europe FITs. That is what I do. I sell over $1 million a year and close to $200,000 in commissions annually. I'm very busy, right? And I'm going to be honest, that success does not come by doing everything by yourself. So having that support through your workflow systems, automations, using a proper CRM, and having assistance by your side is what's going to make it much easier for you to actually get through it.
Yeah, so let's dive much deeper into that conversation. So Haley and I are very aligned. My book of business is also Europe FIT. That's our love language. So we do these trips where there's typically, 14, 15 bookings, and it's a little bit crazy because you're doing flights and transfers and hotels and activities and all of this. So if anybody has it ironed out to make that easier, it's the two of us, and we both love this industry for the reason that you can do it in a simpler manner than the way I think most people go about it. So, Haley, we've kind of talked about starting with the most obvious. And I think the most obvious and biggest, most important thing that high earning travel agents have is a really great network. We talk a lot about the reality of you've got to leave your dang house. Like if you want to meet people, you need to be out and engaged in your community. And we've talked a little bit about farming, but can you explain to us a little bit about what farming actually means in our industry?
Yeah, of course. It's, getting into every network that you possibly can and staying consistent with it and making that actually come to life in sales. And, you don't want to get into your network and just go out, hand out business cards. You want it to be organic and you want it to be natural. You're basically selling yourself. I wouldn't say you're even starting off by selling travel. I'm going to every event that I go to, whether it's my kids' karate class or my daughter's games, whatever we have going on, I'm just talking to people naturally. I think that first and foremost, when people think networking, they're thinking these structured business meetings where they're paying money to go to. No, you want to start with the things that are free around you, just putting yourself out there and having conversations. Don't be the mom that sits in the corner and doesn't talk to anyone.
Or plays on her phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how often do you see that?
Yeah.
So I was explaining to someone the other day, I was like, you just don't know what the opportunity is. And you can, like, I never go up to someone and say, like, so where's your next vacation? Like, that's not my game. Yeah. It's so much easier just to genuinely try to be friends with people and get to know them and just be curious about other humans. And naturally, they will be curious about you. One of my favorite clients I met 2 or 3 years ago, I met her while we were getting our car washed. So I'm sitting there with my 6-year-old and the car is going through the little thing and we're standing in the waiting room waiting for it. And this lady, my 6-year-old, brings up a conversation with her. They start talking. I start asking what she does. She starts asking what I do. I booked a $40,000 trip for her the next week. Like, it was incredible. And it was just from a very genuine conversation about, tell me a little bit about yourself. Right.
Yes, I
And
love
I
that.
think people get frustrated because they're like, well, I don't have a high net worth network. You don't need that. You need to put yourself in a space where you have the opportunity to meet those people. Do you agree? Is that kind of how you would go about
Absolutely.
doing this?
Yeah, for sure. It's you don't the person you're sitting next to getting an oil change, you have no idea who they are. You don't know how much money they have. Maybe they like to travel 3 times a year and have never used a travel agent. Have the conversations, right? And then as you kind of get into it, all of a sudden something clicks and you're like, wow, I'm actually a travel agent. That's really cool. And it may take 2 or 3 encounters. I mean, the one off of finding somebody and booking a $40,000 trip, that's incredible. I've had some crazy things like that happen too, but it just that's a one off. I think showing up
Yes.
consistently is definitely the way to approach it for sure. But again, you have to not be afraid of conversations. You have to just get out there and talk and tell them who you are.
I'm going to add this little caveat too. People ask me a lot of times, like, yeah, how do you do it all? You have so much going on. One of the things that I have found being really beneficial for me is when I join some sort of networking group, no matter what it is, I try really hard to raise my hand for some sort of leadership within the group very early on. The idea is if I'm going to take the time to be part of a group, I'm going to lean all the way in. But typically, these leadership roles, think of a nonprofit organization, for instance. I sat on the board of Junior League for years. I'm on the board of my local Rotary group now. Those leadership positions don't ask for a ton of time. It's usually like an hour here and there, a couple times a month. But people look to you for things, and then you're kind of put on a pedestal in the group a little bit, and people start to know you that much more quickly, right? So my push here is going to be like, look, number one, leave your home. You can't meet anyone if you don't leave your home. Number two, the reality is like, if you are going to join a networking type group to get to know people, just lean in. Don't stick a toe in the water and then be like, well, no one used my travel services. Like, you've got to, if you're going to do it, go all the way in and do it the right way. Are you part of any other groups that we should throw out there right now? I mentioned some nonprofit groups, but
Yeah, I
anything else
mean,
we should be thinking
I'm
of?
part of Boston Businesswomen, so it's a huge networking group. There's like 50,000 plus women in the group, which is huge. And I think a lot of people come into it a little overwhelmed. You pay a small fee for an annual membership. And that allows you, it gives you like posting privileges. And if you live in a big city, or if not, you find the closest big city to you, I'm sure there's similar groups like this everywhere. I tapped into this network probably about 3 years ago, and it's very slow going from the beginning, right? I think it's important that people understand it takes time to build and show that presence of who you are. And hey, I'm going to go to this luncheon. I meet maybe 5 people that time, and 2 months go by and you're meeting, you know what I mean? So it definitely takes time to build, but give yourself a year of consistency in that networking group. And I promise you, by year 2, you're going to start seeing things, right? Year 2 for me in this group, I actually ran my numbers and I booked over $25,000 in commissions out of this group alone in 2025. Like, that's huge. So it's just consistency is key. You got to stick with it and show up, and there's that.
I love that you mentioned it's a multi-year process because I did talk someone recently into joining their local Rotary group, and they had been in for a couple of months, and she kind of just was like, "Well, but nothing's happened yet." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that I hadn't set that expectation because you're absolutely right. This is not a I join and in week 3 I get, a $50,000 booking. It's not that. But I would also love to highlight that you said your group costs a couple $100 a year to be a part of. If a group costs money, it means the members of that group have discretionary income, which means they're probably good for travel agents. So I don't want you guys to shy away from something that costs money. I know my Rotary group cost, and I'll just be very transparent, costs $500 a quarter. So I spend $2,000 a year on the group. There's about 150 active members in the group. And within the last 12 months, I've made about $17,000 from the group. It's not crazy big numbers, but that's commission. That's not sales. So I would say that's a hell of a return on investment. Now, there's a big time investment that doesn't account for that $2,000. because they have a 2-hour lunch every single week and we have these great speakers come in. But I'm getting so much more out of the group than just the commission. So it's not an apples to apples thing. I think, find something that you love doing and you're going to be excited to show up as your authentic self and people are going to be excited to see you. That would be my piece of advice. Like find a group,
Beautiful.
find one that probably costs at least a little bit, and then just consistently show up week over week as often as you can. Haley, is that why you think yours might have been a little slow moving? I think you guys meet once a month. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really depends. It's all on me. If I want to go into the chapter leader, and which I haven't stepped in as a chapter leader yet, I've actually branched off to another networking group where now we're looking at the chapter leadership. Which again, that's just your foot in the door. And as a leader, people look at you and say, okay, it's, there's Haley, and it just starts flowing naturally. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. I met a realtor the other day and she just kind of brought up, she's like, so she has lunch every single day at a restaurant. I was like, oh my God, that must get crazy expensive. And she's like, look, I spend a couple $1,000s a year on lunches. However, every day, if I'm not having lunch with someone, I'm sitting at the bar and I'm meeting people. And something that is really interesting to think about is I've never once met anybody having lunch by myself on my couch, right? And I was like, oh, that, and for real estate, it's a little different. You get one deal and you're making 30 grand. But I think her reality and the way she thought about it was so smart. It's a couple $1,000 investment. And the chances of you meeting somebody that you could work with are probably pretty high week over week if you're consistent with it. And go to the fancy steakhouse restaurants if you're going to do it, right?
I love it. I'm clearing my schedule for an hour and a half for lunch every day next week. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, girl. Treat yourself, right? Okay, so our second, first, leave your house. Our second big thing is once you meet those people, I deep down feel like travel agents don't understand follow-up. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to annoy my friends or my family. If that's your mindset, like you're not doing it right. So number 2 is really high earning travel agents have a great follow-up strategy. Haley, your follow-up strategy is gold. Tell us what you do.
I just had this conversation yesterday, and I was just curious. I was sharing with a couple advisors doing some small group coaching on kind of goal setting, right? And we dove into that, and I threw out my numbers from 2022, and I said, listen, I just showed them what I had brought out 3-4 years ago, and I said, don't look at the numbers, get intimidated by them. Everybody's different. But as we're doing this, they're like, how do you do it, Haley? I'm like, listen, aside from, leads and having those clients there, if you don't have a good strategy on how to get that client in to actually close the deal, then it's just not going to happen. I oftentimes see advisors who get leads and like, yeah, they just ghost me. And that's it. I'm like, okay, well, why did they ghost you? Did you get an answer as to what happened? Like, what's the problem? They came to you for your help to book travel. That's what you're here for. So let's figure out what happened. And that's one of the things in one-on-one coaching and group coaching that I really preach often. Follow up with every lead that you get 10 times until you have that client say to you, hey, Haley, I'm really sorry. I'm not interested I'm going another direction right now, whatever that looks for. I demand that from them. And until I get that, I will not stop hassling them. And I know that sounds awful, but I feel like that's part of the game. I have coached an advisor who got a $40,000 lead. And this is a true story. Last year, she got a $40,000 lead that came in. The first consultation went well. She looked good. She sent over, tasks to go ahead and have a fee done, and back to her. A week, 2 weeks went by without the fee getting done. I'm like, okay, so we're just going to walk away from this because she did that. Let's keep following up, follows up, no answer. We're on 7th, 8th time. And she's like, you know what? I think honestly, at this point, there's just no point. I'm like, there is a point. So what do? We find the client, we figure out she's a CEO of a company. I'm like, listen, here's the problem. She's too busy right now to even talk to you. So you have to find a way to let her know how busy she truly is and that you're here to help her. She was able to, on the 10th, almost 11th attempt, she got that fee paid. She closed a $40,000 trip. So she almost gave up at that 7th, 8th mark because she was frustrated. But those extra 2 attempts and getting in finally resonated with the client. And she's like, okay, you're right. We do need to do this. I can't keep putting it off. Enough's enough, right? That's how you close sales. That is
Yes. Okay, so two big takeaways from that if you guys weren't listening. The one thing, and I don't think you mentioned the statistic, but there is a statistic out there in sales that says roughly about 70% of sales are made after the eighth contact, after the eighth follow-up. This is not like marketing contacts. This is like after you're following up with the client 8 times, 70% of sales are made after that mark. So if your sales aren't growing very fast right now and you're frustrated and you're getting ghosted all the time, look in the mirror. Like, when's the last time you followed up 8 times? I think the other thing that Haley, you just mentioned that really I want to highlight here is the reality of that agent was nervous about being annoying. And you said, well, change your mindset. This woman is a CEO. She's super busy. So the mindset shifted to, I'm not trying to be annoying. I'm trying to help you. You said you needed help. You raised your hand. You came to me and said, I need help with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be relentlessly helpful. I am going to offer you every piece of information I can and how quickly I can help you and what I could do to put in front of you. And if you just keep approaching it in that manner, it makes life so much different and it makes the client look at you different. So I never follow up and say, oh man, I freaking hate when someone follows up and it literally says, just following up on our conversation from last week. I will delete your email immediately. Like, I have no interest. You have no skills in sales. And it drives me crazy. But if instead you say, I know you said this was really important to you. I think the itinerary checked all those boxes, but I was thinking this instead, or can we do it this way instead? Or instead, if you just haven't heard from them after they were a hot lead and you had a great consult and they hadn't paid a fee, you could basically follow up and say, I know it's really important to you to have this vacation and I'm super excited to plan it. Just so you know, I'm going to take X, Y, and Z off your plate. Were you still open to talking about the fee or whatever it is? If you just keep following up of, I want to help you. I literally have texted people that before. I want to help you. You said you needed help. Do you still need help? Exactly. That's it. It doesn't have to be like this. Can I book your trip? Are you ready to book your trip now? Are you ready? Let's lock it in. Can we lock it in? Like, that is such a bad sales tactic. But if instead you say, I'm still here to help and I'm excited about helping for that trip, and you just have the mindset of, I'm being relentlessly helpful, that is going to get you to that high earning potential in 2026. Haley, did I miss anything on this follow-up strategy situation?
No, I think always your presentation or how you go ahead and, present it to a client's important too. So yeah, there's a lot of different processes to getting to the actual sale, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point. But I think to get them engaged initially, you want to continue to follow up with them. If they ghost you on the first consult, text them and say, hey, I'm so sorry. There must have been a problem with the link today. Let's go ahead and get rescheduled. And don't just be like, oh, I'm pissed off they didn't show up, right? I mean, of course you are, but you're not going to tell them that. Do you want the sale or not? So I think, wait 5 minutes. If they don't show up, call them, send the text. If they don't answer, follow up 10 times, right? You have to do it. You have to do it to close sales and become a high earner in 2026.
And there's a couple different ways to follow up too. I want to make sure we highlight, like, the reality is, yes, you can email, yes, you could text, but you could also give them just additional information that's not a, hey, are you ready to close? So something I like to do is, our travel agency has a blog post about everything in every country around the world, right? Our SEO strategy is strong. So I'll go to our blog post and I'll type in Italy or I'll type in Belize or whatever it is. I'll grab a blog post from it and say, like, hey, I ran across this old blog post we've done. I thought it might be a read that you would be interested in. And it's just, again, like, you're providing information, you're trying to be helpful, you want to be there for them. Or I'll Google, like, really interesting excursion experience if I don't have one top of mind. And I'll text them a link to that and be like, oh my God, I just found this excursion and it's this, you're having dinner with a private chef on some terrace overlooking the Acropolis. And is this something that you think you would love to do? And like, you don't have to say, I'm following up. You don't have to say, are you ready to close now? You can do it in different ways to where it just feels a lot more natural and like you're a lot more excited to actually be there at the end of the day. I'm just following up feels very much like my sales manager told me I have to say this. Okay, so a few more things to really be a high earning advisor in 2026. One of those that we haven't talked about yet is the reality of the right systems. I'm going to throw something out controversial. I think most people in the industry have a workflow system. I think very, very, very few people in the industry have a CRM. Haley, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think when people ask me, what CRM do you use? I don't think they're referring to what a CRM actually is. I think they're thinking about how we're invoicing clients, how we're building itineraries, not how are we managing our clients from start to finish, right? That's a completely different system.
Yeah. So Turn and TravelJoy and Tess and all of these other systems, these are workflow systems. These are systems to manage the trip after they've been booked for the most part. Everybody that's up in arms out there. I realize you could put a lead into these systems. However, what they don't do is they don't truly help you manage your pipeline. And if I'm already in over your head, hang tight here. But you basically, we all know we get a certain amount of leads at the top of the funnel, right? Those are the people that tell you, oh, yeah, I've been thinking about going to Italy. But the chances of you closing it as they get further down the pipeline get smaller and smaller. A great CRM is going to help you manage the client in each of those stages of the sale. So you have a hot lead stage, you have a consultation scheduled stage, you have a research and design stage, you have a proposal scheduled phase, you have a decision maker feedback stage, you have a closed won, closed lost phase. You have all these different phases. And in each phase, the client is going to have a higher likelihood of closing the deal, right? A great CRM is going to track the phases. It's going to track every bit of notes you have. I keep all my consultation notes in my CRM. It's going to track the total amount of commission, total amount of sales, however you track your numbers. And it's going to track the likelihood of that closing. I know a hot lead closes at a 10% rate. So it'll calculate that out and give me a number and say, by the end of the month, this is what's in the pipeline right now. And I can see if I'm on track or not on track. It's also going to track when I need to follow up again. It's going to track my lead source. It's going to track when I created. So I could track from created date to close date and see how long my sales cycle is. A great CRM is the game changer for high earning agents. And if you don't know what this is, we should actually sit down and do like a screen share one day, Haley, of we use Monday.com, but there's lots of them out there. The best CRM on the planet is just the one you use. They're all the same, guys. There's not rocket science behind this. It's just a matter of truly tracking your leads in a way that helps grow your business. Haley, tell us a little bit about how you use Monday.com.
Yeah, exactly that. The second I get a lead, one thing to note too with Monday is they have an app. So if you're out and about at an event, you can sneak right into your app, add them in as a hot lead. On Monday, when you get to the office, reevaluate it and get everything going. You go in and you just label your lead and where you are with the stage, hot lead, hot lead, hot lead, until you follow up with them, have a consultation. Then you do consult scheduled. From a consult scheduled, I even have, I'm waiting for fee to be paid, right? So there's that window between a consult and a proposal for myself. I want to flag it as I'm waiting on paid. When I get in the next morning, I can just clearly look and see where I am with each individual client and know what part of the process I am. Okay, I need to follow up with this person today because they haven't done the fee yet. So let me see where they are with that. Or I just presented this proposal to them a day ago. Let's see if they're ready for the deposit. And I'm telling you, without that, you're going to get lost, and you're going to get lost pretty quick as you start to grow your business, right? I think, yeah, of course, anyone can manage 2 to 3 leads, but you're going to get to the point you want 10 to 20 in your pipeline at a time. And when you get to that, you need to track each lead the right way.
Haley, I loved that you said, when I get into the office the next morning, because I think people put follow up as the last thing on their to-do list because they hate doing it. And again, they feel yucky and salesy about it and they don't feel helpful. And if they could change that mindset, it does get more exciting. But I think the best time of the day to follow up is first thing in the morning because you have all day to get a response back from these clients and to get the next steps and to get it going and actually book the trip if that is the next step, right?
My CRM, when I log in every morning, I go CRM first before I look at my email, before I look at anything else. My CRM is my first go-to every morning.
One of my advisors told me that she has her CRM as her homepage. She's like, it is open to open opportunities as my homepage. I cannot log into the internet without it popping up. And I was like, oh, girl, like that is amazing. So if you're out there and you are using TravelJoy and Tess and Turn and all these other systems, again, nothing wrong with them and you absolutely need them. After you close the sale, they're really incredibly helpful and completely irreplaceable. But if you're going to take your business more seriously, the front end before the sale closes, you need something that's a little more in depth when it comes to handling the hot lead. I know Turn, for instance, has these stages you could put your trips in. But even then, it doesn't give you the level of detail that we've spoken about. So I would encourage everybody. HubSpot has a free version that you can use. I honestly used that well after I was making $1 million in sales a year, and it was just fine. And it's fully customizable. So I customize the different stages of the trip, which if you've already forgotten, you can rewind this podcast and I said them all. But you can completely customize everything you want so it fits you. And again, I love Haley mentioned some kind of app because how many times have you been somewhere and somebody was like, oh, yeah, I need to talk to you about Ireland. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you never follow up with that person again.
Yeah, I can give my business card, but the reality is, how do I know I need their contact information.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I need to follow up with them. I can't rely on them to text me the next day, right?
Well, and I literally will get up and go to the bathroom. And so I can not be rude and be on my phone and I'll type it in. I'm Davis, Ireland. I know to follow up with them if I already have their contact information. So great play on the CRM. I think that's one of the biggest systems. We've already talked about you need a workflow system. Any other systems to stay organized that you typically lean on?
Yeah, I mean, I know we just touched on Turn a little bit. So the one thing CRM wise, which with Turn, I think they're still developing, right? So I do see hope for it soon in the manner of Monday. But you can actually create like an intake form where you send it to your client and then it will auto put it into essentially your hot lead. So again, if you send that over, you have the link to that. That's a really nice feature that they do have. But yeah, I think the other thing that we're going to add here is setting up workflows and automations, right? And how do you keep that going consistently with each trip that you book? So when in that 8-month window, after booking to client traveling, they're staying informed with everything you want to give them. Don't even sit here and think you're going to type up an email individually to each client.
You're never going to do it.
It's going to be awful, right? Take that off your plate right away, set up workflows. In each workflow, you have automations that belong to that workflow, and you create what that looks like for each trip that you have.
So for Sava Travel, which Haley and I co-own, the reality behind it is we believe aggressively in workflows. I think this changes your life. We all use Turn and we offer it to everybody in Sava Travel uses Turn for free. That's part of our membership. And the way that we use Turn is we have a generalized workflow that's got, 30 days after booking, we talk passports. 60 days before travel, we talk dinner reservations and spa appointments. 30 days before travel, we talk about the need for tipping and electricity or whatever it is. And 2 days before travel, we wish them well. And then the day they get home, they get an automated email saying, welcome home. We've got that. But I think you should consider taking it a step forward. One of my favorite things to do is create these workflows around a country specifically. And I have always called it like the experience before the experience. So for us, you would pull in a secondary workflow that would be called Italy, for instance. And 21 days before travel, the client might get an email that's like, hey, here's some information about the wine regions of Italy so you can intelligently order wine when you're in Italy next week or next month, right? And then they may get another one that's like, here's all the different shapes of pasta and what you need to know about pasta or whatever it is. You could be as cheesy or as detailed as you want about it. But I think it's just interesting to hype the client up. And for everyone out there that's like, my client does not want more email, you'd be shocked the ones that do. And think about how many of your clients you're only talking to the primary client. But if you could start getting information, valuable information out to all those secondary travelers, you're that much more likely to create another referral source that you didn't even know you had, right? Now, all of a sudden, it's not just the wife, but the husband's talking to a buddy and they're trying to do an African safari. And the husband's like, man, my travel agent knows everything about everything. You got to call her, and you've never spoken to that man before in your life. So I think that kind of automated experience before the experience can just create some true magic for your clients.
Absolutely. I agree. Sometimes I will get a reply to my auto email, or my client will text me and they're like, "Hey, Haley, so that form that you sent over today," I'm like, "You're going to have to give me a minute. I got to pop in and take a look and see what's going on." I'm not really sure where we are with the automation today, but I'll look at it. But honestly, some clients just think it's
From
you
you.
honestly sending it out. That's what it looks like. It comes from your email direct. But you have spent, several hours putting these together for a reason. So yeah, use them for your business. I promise you, it's
Well,
worth.
and I think people are probably like, oh my God, Bert, there's no way I'm creating all these emails for every country I focus on. And that's fine. But even just the baseline generic emails, you have certain information that you need to tell each person, right? Like we have an email, for instance, that goes out about child custody, and it's just got very generic information that obviously directs them towards their lawyer and their custody agreement. But if we have any child ever traveling on any trip, anyone under the age of 18, they get this automated email. And it basically just explains that if both biological parents are not on the trip, you may be asked for a letter, a notarized letter that's you're allowed to take this child out of the country. For us, it's simply a CYA. It's a cover your ass moment. But the reality is that information does need to go out. And we have run into some very sticky situations in the past. When you're doing literally thousands of trips a year, this is going to happen. So for us, it was just an easy, oh, there's a child on the trip, pull in the child custody automation, and it goes out. And it's very gently written. It literally says like, hey, if this is not you, please ignore this. I just want to make sure if it is you, you have the information you need. And I even do it when it seems like both parents with the same last name as the kids are going on the trip. So all seems fine. But you don't know that dad could have been divorced. Stepmom could have come in, taken the same name, and biological mom did not give the right for those kids to travel. That's a very realistic scenario. So having some of these CYA type emails is also really helpful. We've got them for the real ID. We've got them for visas and stuff like that. And, I think it's important to make sure you're just covering your bases. Like, hey, this is what you need. This is what you can and cannot do. A great example, another great example is for anybody that does a lot of Mexico trips. Throw in an automated email that talks about the departure tax and what that means. And I'm specifically talking about Quintana Roo and talking about the Riviera Maya area. But if you have those, you can create extensions that are just for one particular area. And if you do a ton of business in one area, consider beginning to create the experience before the experience. Sound good? Did we miss anything there?
No, you nailed it. I think what you don't want to see is your client come back from, obviously you do a good pre-departure call and you talk about, okay, a UK ETA, what does that look like? But if my automation email went out to you and I told you at least that auto email that I can prove went out to you, I have that to say, hey, I did actually send this to you and you didn't get it done. I'm not sure what else to tell you, right? So CYA all day.
I love that you just said it's basically the backup, right? So you should tell your clients, because let's be honest, ain't nobody reading anything anymore. Like nobody's going to read half of these. However, if you get in a sticky situation, you can easily say on August 8th at 4 p.m. You know what I mean? Like that makes all the difference.
Exactly.
Okay. So far we've covered if I want to be a high earning agent in 2026, I've got to have a great network and get out and network. I've got to have a killer follow-up strategy and stick to it and be relentlessly helpful. I have to have the right systems in place, but really I've got to make sure that those systems have the correct automation. So I'm not doing anything manually because that's never going to work. There is one last one we've been talking about, Haley. And I think for us, this is the piece that Haley and I are most aggressively passionate about. And that is simply not doing it alone. Haley talked to us a little bit about guest experience and pre-departure and just what does a team really look like?
Yeah, you'll hear us talk about having fully trained assistants all the time. If you're not part of a team that has fully trained assistants, find your own, train them, and have them do things for you and be your second eyes, because those second, third set of eyes have saved me in so many different situations. It's like just a safe scapegoat for me. Like it just makes me feel good and I know that everything's taken care of, so I don't have to worry. So once I actually truly sit here and book a trip, I can, move on to the next and I don't have to worry because I know somebody else is fine tuning all the details for me, and I can just keep on going. Then they can come and tell me when I do F up royally, right? And be like, Haley, you missed a day with a hotel stay. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I better get in and get that fixed. Or, this is my favorite one. The other day I had pre-departure tell me, hey, Haley, I just want to let you know. And this is the third time I've misspelled the name Deborah. Just, I don't know why. I always spell it
Is there an
D-B-R-A,
H?
but it's D-B-O-R-A-H. And I realized I misspelled it for the third different Deborah. I've done it. But it's just on the insurance policy. Easy fix, right? But at the same time, they're flagging that I misspelled her name. So I get in, get it fixed right away, done. But I don't know, what if for some reason they came home and filed, this was never fixed, then their name's not matching their insurance policy. They basically told me, Haley, you messed up, fix it, right? So that's the importance of having an assistant. I'm telling you, it's saved me.
Okay. So absolutely shameless plug here. This is why Sava Travel was built, because we believe that travel agents should not be in charge of recruiting, hiring, and training their assistants. So we do that and we plug them just directly into your business. And that's our host agency model. And we think it's awesome. However, if you don't want to switch host agencies, no worries. I want to tell you what our team does, and you need to get your team to do this. I think that's the easiest way for you to still pull a lot of value from this conversation. So we have two separate teams. Haley first spoke about guest experience, and they basically do the dinner reservations, the spa appointments. They do all of that admin work that you just don't have time for. I mean, if you're really actually a high earning travel advisor, you should not be doing those tasks that you could pay somebody, $10, $15, $20 an hour to do. You should take that hour and go sell another trip and make another $1,000, right? That's your hourly pay should be $1,000.
Or go have a networking lunch, Bird. Go have a networking lunch.
Yes, go have a networking lunch. I love everything about that.
Yeah.
So some of the other things that guest experience does, though, is all the annoying little questions you get when it gets closer to travel, like what's the dress code for this cruise, or what do I need to pack this? Do I need that? Do I need the other? There's just all these questions. That's where we simply just train our advisors to say like, hey, this is Flora. She's my guest experience manager. She's going to partner with me on this trip and she's going to answer everything you need. Tag Flora on those emails, and then she jumps in and researches the answer for you. She's already trained. She knows all about Italy or all about the cruise line or all about whatever. And she can throw in the answer for your client. And it took you no time and you didn't think about it. And even if you're like, look, that takes 5 minutes, or those dinner reservations takes 10 minutes, it's no big deal. It is a big deal if you're booking 100, 150 trips or more a year. That 10 minutes adds up over and over and over. So for us, guest experience is just completely integral to everything we do. Something that's really fun is I've been doing this at my travel agency now for 6 years, and we track every single task in this ticketing system, right? And we can connect it back to the trip. And Haley, you might actually not. Do you know how much time on average a guest experience manager takes on our trips now?
I would say 3 to 5 hours.
5. It's like 5 hours and 15 minutes is what we've been averaging in 2025. Now, I do want to be honest with everybody. Again, we focus on Europe FIT. So we're focused on those 2-week trips across Europe that are very detailed and have a lot going on. But hell, 5 hours I'm saving per trip. Like that's an incredible amount of time. So for us, I think it's just this amazing thing that exists. So if you don't have an assistant that is client facing, or if you're even really worried about it, we tell our guest experience managers like they need to CC the advisor on everything. So even though my clients will just message Flora directly because they know her so well now, Flora responds and CCs me. So I still have eyes on whatever it is that's going on. And she's been particularly helpful on like this special request. I want balloons in my kids' room for their birthday. I want to take family photos on the beach. Like these little things that just come up where you're like
vegetarian restaurants, right? Yeah, that's the biggest one I hear.
Gluten-free in Italy, that happened a few months back. And I was like, really? Yeah. Shockingly enough, they found some awesome gluten-free restaurants. But these things come up constantly. Or like, can you just reconfirm with every one of my hotels that it's a king bed and not a queen? And they've got 6 hotels. And you're like, cool.
I just had a client ask me about a month ago, like, Haley, so we booked like a 2-week Croatia trip and they're staying in 5 different properties. and fast forward to 3 months after we booked, she's like, "Hey, I forgot to ask you, like, can I make sure can we see if there's a bathtub in every room we're staying in?" I'm like, "Oh man, like
No.
I don't have time for this right now, right?" So I'm like, "Hey, Jem, Nessie, can you pop in here? I need you to go just let me know really quick if we have bathtubs. If not, let's just give her a heads up so she's prepared for it when she gets there."
Yes.
Another big thing too is like I just had a pre-departure call the other day. After you do a pre-departure call, there will probably always be a few things that need tweaking. For example, I had a transfer that they had their flight changed. We had to re-request the transfer time, make sure everything was aligned. I put that right back in my Gem. Gem went into the transfer company. They went and said, "Hey, can we move this to a 7:30 a.m. pickup?" Done within 24 hours, updated on the itinerary. I let go of it.
Yes.
The second I send that over to the Gem, I know it's done and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, I love that. I had one guy that was traveling with a CPAP and he wanted distilled water delivered to every hotel room and he had 4 hotel rooms. And I'm like, I don't want to figure that out for you, sir.
Yeah.
Sure enough, my Gem jumped right in and figured those things out, right? So you guys that are listening, you probably have 8 more examples of times when a client has just been high maintenance and obnoxious and all of the things. And that shouldn't be on you. If you want to be a high earning travel agent, you've got to let go. Like you've got to stop being the person that says, I need to control everything. And instead be the person that says, I'm going to trust this to somebody else so I can focus my time on what only I can do. Only you can put together that really unique itinerary and pitch the right way and give a proposal in the right manner. But not only you can book a dinner reservation, lots of people can do that, right? So I think that that's something that people get in their head about a little bit, or it's like, I need to service the client because I have the relationship. We're not asking you to give up the relationship. We're asking you to
Yeah.
expand the relationship, right?
I just had a client email me that worked with me and Nessie, and they replied to both of us like, "Hey guys, we're ready to book our next trip." And I was just like, "See, like they love your Gem.
Yeah.
If you have the same Gem and this becomes your repeat client, they want to know that." Okay, Nessie was so amazing. Like I love working with Nessie. I've had people even leave Google reviews,
Yes.
saying amazing things about my Gem as well. And
You're like, wait,
that
wait, what
makes
about
me
me?
happy because the reality is we're a partnership, right? So if I'm doing great things, I want her to do great things and get recognized for all her hard work. So it's never this competition issue, but I get it from the standpoint of I hate to let go. That was always my biggest fear. I think I sat on this decision for a couple months and I think that's normal. What I wish I did was made the decision sooner. Like once I got into it, I realized what it could do for me and my business. My scale skyrocketed over $500,000 increase the following year, right? So it's definitely proven. It's a proven process and it works. So if you're thinking about it, I mean, keep thinking, but don't think too long. Just make it happen, right?
I love that. Okay, so the other thing we do at Sava is we have a pre-departure team. So if you don't have a pre-departure team, try to think about what this looks like. So we have them go into every single trip and they literally check piece by piece. So they start with the flights and they log into the airlines and they're like, okay, all of this matches. Seats are together. She has a window. We've got that noted. Everything's perfect. Okay, we go into the transfer. They reach out to the transfer company and they say, hey, just making sure, here's the flight number. Here's what you need. Do you have it? Here's the client's phone number. I want to make sure you have everything so there's no mistransfers here. Then they go to the hotel. This is the best part. They go to the hotel and they say, hey, hotel, not only do I want you to reconfirm the names, the room type, the dates, all of these things, but I want you to do a few more things for me. Number one, I want you to tell me if there's any construction or anything going on in your hotel that I need to know so my clients have a heads up. People get very angry about construction. We want to tell them in advance. But the second piece of that is they say, hey, hotel, write a handwritten note in the room for the client from the travel advisor. So they say, I'm the assistant. I am not the one signing the note. I want you to sign it by Haley DeCarlo. And the hotel goes in and writes that note. And then we put this cute little sentence at the bottom that is the game changer. We say, if you could accompany the note with any type of amenity, any type of complimentary amenity, we would really appreciate it. So I don't pay for it, but man, the amount of hotels that'll throw a bottle of wine, that'll throw some chocolate covered strawberries, that'll throw whatever with this handwritten note, and I come out looking like a rock star. It's awesome. Like that's my favorite thing. And the idea again, Pre-departure is just rechecking every single thing. They make sure every tour has the tour operator's phone number and where the meeting place is and the exact times, and does it match with what you booked in Viator, Project Expedition, or whatever it was. And it just gives me the peace of mind at the end of the day to say, it's going to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, it's not my fault. That's all I want to be able to say.
I love it.
I've messed up more times than I can count. We're all human. We all get excited. And especially if you're high earning, you're just like pumping out those trips. Yeah. You're going to mess up. Like, it just is what it is. And you need a second or third set of eyes on your trips at the end of the day. Any pre-departure stories you would add in there? Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, I know I've talked on previous podcasts about some of my best pre-departure stories, but they have saved me in a lot of situations. So I do it. I had clients actually go up to like Banff one year, and I booked an extra hotel. I booked an extra night. And again, here we are. And luckily, pre-departure came in. I was able to cancel it and rebook it before it became non-cancelable. Right. So I was able to then I saved my clients a couple $100. We're good to go. And luckily it worked out. But again, what if the client got in destination and this was just, and they're like, oh, we paid for an extra day. Like, could you imagine? So there's just so many stories I have with pre-departure. They have saved me so many times. And honestly, now that I know the process and I'm confident in who I work with, then I feel like the sky's the limit for all of us, right?
Yeah,
I look
absolutely.
at it as it's a well-oiled machine. We have a process, and that's what I stick to every single trip that I book.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so 5 big things that are going to make you high earning in 2026. The biggest is making sure that you are creating a network and farming it each and every day. Go have fancy lunches. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life, right? Second is that follow-up strategy, a minimum of 10 follow-ups every single lead, and do it from a place of being relentlessly helpful. The third was making sure you have the right systems in place. So not just a workflow system, but a CRM that helps you track. When you have 20 leads at once, you need something more sophisticated to actually keep up with all of them. The fourth was making sure that you have everything automated, because my goodness, if you're doing things manually, you're crazy. We even automate all of our invoice reminders. And the reality is, you can't automate it just saying like so many days before departure, because that changes, right? But you can say, send this email on this day. So when we book the trip, we have them in there that it all go out. And that way, none of my clients are ever surprised. They know exactly what they owe every time. And the last is just don't do it alone. Get a team to help you. We will dive a lot deeper in a future podcast on what a $15 an hour task is versus $150 an hour task versus $1,500. You should be doing your highest and best use of time at that $1,500, and anything below that should be put on somebody else. So excited to talk more about that, but thank you for listening to the Travel Agent Guide, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.